Hey everyone, welcome back to Political Excess. Today let's cover the primary results from yesterday, May 24th. Now let's start in Texas where they had their runoffs. Now there's several races that are close. You can take a look at those if you'd like. I'm going to focus on the main ones. So in the House, in the 15th district, the Democrats had a runoff there. It's an open seat, and Ruben Ramirez is leading by only a couple of points over Michelle Vallejo. He is supposed to be the more moderate candidate, and he has a lead. That'll be an interesting race to watch as the winner there takes on Monica de la Cruz. Republicans are trying to pick that seat up there in South Texas. But the biggest race in the House for Texas is the 28th district. That's also in that same area, Rio Grande Valley. Democrats, they had their runoff, and Henry Cuellar does have a very, very narrow edge over Jessica Cisneros. Cuellar is regarded as the more moderate candidate. This one has a lot of national attention. It's another seat Republicans are trying to make inroads on. So there might be a recount, but whoever wins that will face Cassie Garcia in November. Now let's go on to the statewide races for the Texas runoff. And for Lieutenant Governor, the Democrats, Mike Collier, he prevailed over Michelle Beckley, and he will go on to face Dan Patrick in November. And in the Attorney General race, Ken Paxton, the incumbent, he took down a challenge from George P. Bush. He won that easily. He will go on to face Rochelle Garza, the Democratic nominee. Moving over to Georgia in the House, several more close races, but the two to mention in the 7th District, Democrats had Lucy McBath prevail over Carolyn Bordeaux, as expected, and Republicans, they're heading to a runoff there, but that should probably stay with the Democrats in the fall. And the other big race is the 10th District for the Republicans. That is heading to a runoff between Mike Collins and Vernon Jones. That race seemed to be closer than the predicted market was showing. The Democrats in that district are also heading to a runoff, and these runoffs will be on June 21st. And for the statewide races for Georgia, the Republicans, Brian Kemp, the incumbent, he cruised to victory over David Perdue, which was a high-profile race, but the results have it as a blowout for Kemp with over 70% of the vote. So it will be, of course, a rematch between Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams in the fall. Right now, I'd give the edge to Brian Kemp. For U.S. Senate, as expected, Herschel Walker, he also cruised to victory with almost 70% of the vote, and he will take on incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock. It's going to be a race to watch. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones for the Republicans, he is barely clinging to not have to go to a runoff at just over 50%. If that holds, he will be the nominee. The Democrats in that race are heading to a runoff. For Secretary of State, that was another widely publicized race. Incumbent Republican Brad Raffensperger, he won outright, over 50% of the vote over Jody Heiss. And the Democrats, that one is actually heading to a runoff. On to Alabama in the House. There's one seat to talk about. That is the 5th District, where Mo Brooks, he is running for U.S. Senate. Republicans have a runoff. It'll be between Dale Strong and Casey Wardynski, and that should be safe for them in the fall. Onto the statewide races, incumbent Republican Kay Ivey. She did win as expected with over 50% of the vote, avoiding the runoff. The Democrats, they will be heading to a runoff, but that one should be pretty safe for the Republicans in the fall. Another big race, U.S. Senate for Alabama. That is heading to a runoff, Katie Britt versus Mo Brooks. It's going to be one to watch, again on June 21st. One other race to mention for Alabama, statewide, is the Secretary of State for the Republicans. That is heading to a runoff between Jim Ziegler and Wes Allen. And over in Arkansas, none of those races in the House are notable enough to mention. So in these statewide races, Sarah Sanders, she did cruise to victory as expected, and she'll face the Democrat Chris Jones in November, but that should not be a competitive race. For U.S. Senate, John Bozeman, he also avoided a runoff, almost 60% of the vote for Bozeman, and he'll take on Natalie James, who also avoided a runoff for the Democrats. And for Lieutenant Governor, the current Attorney General of Arkansas, Leslie Rutledge, she avoided a runoff and won that with about 54% of the vote. And finally, the Minnesota special election for their 1st district, the primary there. It is a real close race. Brad Finstad, he has a narrow lead, about 1% Only a few hundred votes over Jeremy Munson. Something could change as the final votes come in, but as of now, Brad Finstad, he appears to be the winner, and he will go on to face Jeff Ettinger. And that general election will be on August 9th. So that's a quick overview of the primary results. There's a few surprises, no complete upsets. A few of the races are razor thin, so there's always room for that to change as the final ballots come in. But we'll see what happens in the runoffs. So let me know what you think of any of these results. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.